On a flat area north of Arbela, across the ancient Mesopotamian land, one of history's most important battles was about to take place. The year was 331 BC. Two armies faced off, their leaders carrying the weight of empires on their shoulders. On one side stood Alexander the Great, the clever and determined conqueror whose ambitions had no limits. On the other side was Darius III, king of Persia, the ruler of the largest empire the world had ever known. This was Gaugamela, where a clash of armies shaped the fate of civilizations. Alexander's Macedonian army was vastly outnumbered, with estimates ranging from 40,000 to 50,000 troops, against Darius's forces that totaled somewhere between 100,000 and 200,000 soldiers. But size, as it would turn out, wasn't everything. What Alexander lacked in numbers, he made up for in discipline, professionalism, and groundbreaking tactics. Most of Alexander's troops were battle-tested professionals. They were soldiers who had fought side by side with their king for years, talked the same language, and shared in his dream of glory and conquest. Each soldier knew his role and had confidence in the men beside him. This stood in stark contrast to Darius's army, which was a diverse mix of recruits from across the vast Persian Empire. Many were drafted peasants who had little loyalty to the king. They hardly knew, and communication on the battlefield was difficult because of the different languages and cultures among the Persian soldiers. The Persian king, aware of his numerical advantage, aimed to defeat Alexander by using sheer force. He arranged his troops across the wide plain to surround the Macedonians. Darius's army boasted elite units like the feared cavalry, scythed chariots, and war elephants, their sheer presence designed to intimidate the opposition. But Alexander saw through the chaos. He had studied his enemy carefully, and he had no intention of engaging in a conventional head-on clash. Instead, he would outmaneuver Darius with one of the most ingenious battle plans in history. The Macedonians started the morning by forming their phalanx, a dense arrangement of soldiers with long spears, shields, and incredible discipline. While it looked as though Alexander was preparing for a simple defensive formation, he had something much more intricate in mind. Using his smaller forces to his advantage, Alexander created gaps in his lines and sent light infantry to harass the Persians at key points, all while luring Darius's attention toward the center. Meanwhile, hidden within his ranks, his cavalry waited for the perfect moment to strike. Darius's strategy rested on his scythed chariots, fast-moving, blade-equipped vehicles meant to cut down the Macedonian phalanx. But Alexander was ready. As the chariots roared toward his lines, his soldiers parted, creating pathways that rendered the chariots ineffective. Persian cavalry, too, were drawn into concentrated areas where Alexander's mobile units could counterattack with precision. And then came Alexander's boldest move, the defining moment of Gaugamela. While Darius's attention remained pinned on the main battle, Alexander unleashed his cavalry in a daring attack on a critical weak point, the Persian king's position in the center. Riding at the head of the charge, Alexander aimed to break through directly to Darius himself, targeting his opponent psychologically as much as physically. The weakness of the Persian army, their disorganization, was now on full display. The lack of coordination between Darius and his troops left his central command vulnerable. Alexander's forces surged forward like an unstoppable wave. Panicked by the audacity of the maneuver, Darius abandoned his position and fled. Without their leader, the Persian army began to crumble. Some units fought valiantly, but many simply dissolved into chaos, retreating or surrendering as the Macedonians pressed their advantage. By the time the dust settled on the battlefield, Alexander had achieved a complete and decisive victory. The ramifications of the Battle of Gaugamela couldn't be overstated. Darius III's defeat marked the end of the Persian Empire, a behemoth that had dominated the ancient world for centuries. Alexander claimed control over Mesopotamia, Persia, and much of the Eastern world. But his victory wasn't just about land or wealth. It represented the spread of Greek culture, ideas, and governance across vast territories. This cultural diffusion laid the groundwork for the Hellenistic period, where Greek influence blended with local customs, fostering advancements in art, science, and philosophy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this.